So there we go. One session left to go. And as you already know and can expect, it's time for Johnson to be on stage again. And here he is already, quick as always. Yeah, same procedure. Johnson, the stage is yours to give the audience the perspective from Shell Aviation. So try to share the screen just to make sure that everything works, and it does.
All right.
Johnson, see you in a few minutes. Have fun.
Right.
Bye.
Thanks. I'll keep this short. We have been on this for about 2 hours plus now, so I'll keep this short because a lot of the points David has covered, the benefits actually overlap with what the supplier and ITPs see, right? So I think just a quick introduction. We call our system SkyPad, and we call this integration SkyPad Data Exchange, right? And today I'm going to share. Before I share, of course, Shell requires me to put a disclaimer up here. Don't worry about it, right? And I think today we're just going to share about a few things, right? So I just want to talk a little bit about challenge of future, given the pandemic stage right now, and how we see operational efficiency helping us and potentially helping the airlines. How it is today, right? And I think some of you are asking about how building business cases. So I hope this will help. How does an end-to-end and digital journey solution look like, which I think David covered in great detail. The benefits in short, and then maybe a little bit of what should you do next, right? So moving on. So I think many of us are familiar with this chart, right? IATA has estimated that we will only get back to 2019 levels by 2024, right? And I think in Shell, what we believe is as we recover, right, technology is going to play a big role, right, in helping us be more efficient, keeping costs down, right, as we ride the recovery, right? And how does then technology help in our operational efficiency, and why is operational efficiency important, right? I think I don't need to dwell on this a lot longer because I think most of you know, right? Delays will result in unhappy customers, right? And unhappy customers don't take your airline again. Right. Another thing is, of course, we are hoping to reduce our operational cost, right? And I think just by David's animation just now, you can see how much time can be saved and how much lesser interaction can be achieved, right? Which really plays very well into the COVID era. Yeah. So what does today's manual process look like, right? David has gone through a lot in detail, so I just want to capture the key bits, right? There is a manual transmitting of data to the oil supplier, right? So via phone, via filling up a request sheet, via an email sometimes. So different airlines do it differently, right? On the ground during fueling, we have to wait for the engineer to set the fuel panel before the operator commences fueling. Typically, the engineer has to then speak to the operator and align on certain things like fuel volume, and basically mostly fuel volume, right? So there's a touch point over there. After the fueling is done to the based on the first order, right? Engineer will confirm with the pilot for the final order, just like what David has talked about. Reset the panel again, right, before we start refueling again. So you can see here that there's a lot of time lost because of all these handovers. Yeah. And finally, when everything is done, right, the pilot logs the final fuel figure manually in their database. Whereas my guy on the ground does the same thing manually into our database, right? So data doesn't flow, which means that there will always be a need for reconciliation, right? So if you go back and look at how much time and effort is spent on reconciliation, it must have been significant, right? There are even technological processes or technological stuff being built just to do recon faster and more efficient. Yeah. So two main things: manual input of data results in time consuming and results in errors, right? Manual handoffs on the ground results in idle time, right, which lengthens turnaround time, which means there's a higher risk of delay, right? So, oh, sorry, too fast. Let me get back here. So how does these inefficiencies then impact airlines, right? So I think just think about it, right? I'll leave you with this story. There might be one error which resulted in one unintended invoice discrepancy, right? So you and your team then spent a lot of time just to investigate what went on. When you ask a guy on the ground, they can't remember what happened, right? So this is just one potential issue, right? So imagine you have 6 to 7 ongoing dispute investigations at the same time, right? This takes up a lot of man hours, right? So I think as we recover, right, these are things that are not worth spending time on. Yeah, even before COVID, I would say these are things also not worth spending time on. Right, they are not value adding for the supplier. They are not value adding for the airline as well. Right, so I think such resolutions are unnecessary and basically a distraction which reduces all our productivity. Yeah, so why Skype Data Exchange then is that this removes a lot of these pain points. Yeah, if the pilot can send data to my operator quickly and efficiently, right? My operator can set the panel and start refueling without waiting for the engineer. When the final fuel amount comes in, he resets the panel again and starts refueling again. And when everything is done, the final amount is confirmed electronically with the pilot. And you can see on the right side, right over here, it's consistent information between my database and the airline's database, which means that from now on, there really isn't a need for reconciliation. And the likelihood of disputes are going to be much lower. So this frees up a lot of man hours, and which these man hours can then be diverted to be more productive areas. Yeah. So in summary, right, I just want to capture this, right? We know for airlines, right, the currency of refueling is seconds and accuracy, right? We don't want delays, we don't want invoice disputes, right? And in times of a pandemic, face-to-face interaction means less face-to-face interaction means lower health risk for our frontline workers as well, right? So in short, faster turnaround time, right? You save, I think David was looking at 15 minutes, based on Shell's estimation is about 8 to 13 minutes, right? Varying. Data accuracy, full-time staff savings, full-time man-hour savings basically, right? So I think we estimate to be about 1.5 full-time staff. So different airlines see different numbers. We understand that, right? Depending on the location and the number of flights. Yeah. And finally, in the COVID world, then we can achieve social distancing, right? So I think after we did this, there is no more face-to-face interaction between us and the engineer or us and the pilot, right? Unless there is an issue. Yeah. So this helps lower the health risk to our frontline workers. Okay, so I'll leave you with this, right? And I hope I've excited some of you in this webinar, right? And I think as a next step, if you're interested to integrate, talk to us, right? If we have sites where we are supplying you, right? Those can be jointly identified as potential pilot sites. The IT teams will talk to each other, right? And we can then establish a project plan and timelines. Yeah, so simple 4 steps, but most importantly, talk to us, right? If you are interested, we are interested to help you if you are interested to go on this journey. And that's it for me. Robin?
Here I am again. Thank you very, very much, Johnson, for those insights. And yeah, you could just repeat what he said. If you don't have his direct mail or anything, contact me via afuel.id1.de. I will forward any mail you send me that is related to what Shell is doing. So thank you very, very much for those insights, Johnson. And again, simply, this presentation will be part of the content bundle that will be sent out to all of the attendees up until Friday. I think I will manage that. If not, you will have to not so much longer for it. So so you can click through it on your own and make up your mind how it can help your airline, your interplaner, your maybe as a consultant, your personal business as well. So Johnson, thank you very, very much for taking that time to be part of this webinar for the 2 sessions. It was a real pleasure to having you, to giving us all the insights.